Right, we're back. Episode 6. It's episode 6 already, man. We're spending a fortune on this. I've got James with me, as always.
And today we're joined with Stuart Dougal. Stuart, the podcast is called From Scheme to Boss. Where are you fae? And what'd you do?
Well, I'm fae, originally in Newmains in Wishy area up in Lanarkshire, but I live just outside the city centre now. What do I do? After 43 years working for other folk, I decided to take the plunge, and I'm now basically a business advisor, but it's businesses that need a bit of help. If I'm being honest, it's those that feel that there's a real challenge and they might not have the skill set to get through that. I tend to get them through that.
Well, what kind of challenges would a business be coming across that they would need to come to you and ask for help with?
A great question. A large one is coming out of COVID. A lot of people maybe went into it with HMRC arrears in particular, and it's been able to negotiate with HMRC, if that's what you need to do, to look at additional funds into businesses. Have you got the right customer base? Are you being a busy fool? There are so many areas. I know you guys are running your own businesses.
I was a busy fool for the first few years.
I was
doing everything, chasing the turnover rather than the profit.
We were the same. We were the exact same, man. It's like, it wasn't until we started doing this podcast we started to realise there's people like yourself that you can go to and you can say, right, my business is at this stage. How do I take it further? What's my options? And then I was looking on your website and it was like people were just saying about the HMRC. Do you help people who have maybe got like bounce back stuff and all that kind of stuff, looming over them?
All of that stuff. It's basically knowing how to deal with what you call the stakeholders, whether that's HMRC, whether it's the banks with the bounce back loans, CBILS loans, anything where businesses are struggling a wee bit, just to try and give them, first of all, I try to give a bit of comfort to say, right, don't really know what your big problem is, but there's a solution. I don't know what the solution is yet.
There's always something.
But let's talk. And then I've got a network of contacts that I bring in as well to help sort things out.
Because we came out of COVID, and it was like, because we couldn't go into people's houses, but when we came out, we had a bounce back loan, and at the time we thought, yes, great, we've got a bounce back loan, this is like free money, but we didn't realise that we weren't making money and the bills still had to be paid.
Aye.
So see, when we came back, and obviously we had a lot of cancellations because people were worried about spending, nobody wanted it. So we didn't have as many customers, and we had that bounce back loan sitting there, and we're going, this now needs to be paid. How are we going to pay it? And it was a big worry. So if we did have somebody that we could have maybe went to just to kind of calm the nerves rather than help us navigate that, would have been great.
That's exactly what it is. It's just about knowing what to do at the right stage. You know, I don't know how to put kitchens in. I don't know how to clean kitchens very well or clean houses, as my wife would confirm. So you go to specialists. That's what you go there for. It just so happens that that's my job.
Do you think bounce back loans have caused more issues than help?
Again, another great question. I think there's a lot of sticking plasters went on in bounce back loans. Was one, the moratorium of HMRC, whilst understandable, I'm not sure across the board it was a good idea. The reason I say that is that when we were going into COVID, and nobody knew this, obviously we were going into the kind of lockdown, I should say, is that there was a lot of businesses struggling. I was with, at that time, KPMG Restructuring, which is now Interpath Advisory. So we dealt with insolvencies or pre-insolvency. We were starting to get really busy again, and then all of a sudden lockdown happened, and many businesses, were struggling. Okay, there's a bounce back, there's a CBILS, that's great. In the short term,
they didn't spend it in their business.
Absolutely, a lot of turkey teeth and hair, you know. But
know me, man.
I'm not asking how you spent yours, but so it was well-meaning. But I do think the major problem I'm seeing just now is HMRC areas, and I'm talking about companies with hundreds of thousands of HMRC areas. Because if you hadn't access to money during it, like your business and like many others, some of them still had to try and pay staff, even although there was a furlough scheme. It's caused a lot of problems, and we're just at the start. That's the worrying thing.
Even then, but it's like we were finding the furlough scheme was obviously, it was good because it helped the staff. But some of these, and obviously I don't want to sling any of my old staff under the bus, but some of them didn't need it because they had went and got other jobs. So they were getting 100% wage for maybe working somewhere that was allowed to stay open, and they were still getting their furlough.
I know.
And I'm sitting going, well, I wasn't getting furlough because I wasn't a member of staff, I was a director.
Exactly.
And it's like that money that they gave us, you were paying it out, then you were claiming back the furlough, and it was...
And a lot of people were claiming and making their staff work as well. And you know that, and it's like life. There's winners and losers, whether we like it or not. There's winners and losers. What you want to do is just make sure there are more winners.
We had
and
guys
losers.
going out doing homers. And it's like they were so these guys, you were still allowed to go. They were still going. Well, they weren't allowed to, but they were going out and wrapping kitchens under the radar because there was customers, people that didn't believe COVID was a thing. They were like, "Aye, come in." They were quite welcome at letting people in. They weren't getting caught. But see, if we'd done that, it would that would have been an absolute nightmare for us getting caught.
Definitely. Yeah.
Do you think now is worse for businesses than 2008 recession?
I was heavily involved in the business world then, and I do think it's worse now for that reason.
So it's obviously we won't remember that well, but we're hearing a lot of people, it's a bit older, saying it could be worse for businesses.
Because a lot of that debt that's out there has got to be repaid back, government debt or bank debt. Whereas in the 2007-2008 crisis, it was mainly property driven, whether it be the mortgages at interest rates or just property development. I went up to Aberdeen in 2014-2015. They had their own mini recession in oil and gas when the bottom fell out of the market there. I nearly said arse, didn't I?
You can say that. I swear all the time on it.
It's a scheme podcast.
So exactly. So I've been through a few. In fact, I started in this game far too long ago, but 1999, I joined KPMG and there was a wee recession going on then. So it's nothing new, and I try to say to a lot of people, don't be frightened of it. It's just change, and it's how you adapt to that change and how you get through it.
So it shouldn't put anybody off that wants to start a business. If you want to start a business, it's still a good time.
Absolutely. In fact, it's probably a better time to start it now, because if you can make a go of it now, then you should be in really firm footing. It's if you're starting it at the end or just as you're coming into a recession, I think we're pushing through it. There's a lot of pain to be had, but it's not unexpected. If you're going to start a business, absolutely go for it. Now, I mentioned, or maybe touched on it earlier, the KPMG restructuring. That's all about liquidations and administrations, and people are frightened of that. And what I keep saying to business owners, it's legislation's there to protect you. Yeah. If you've got a bad contract or you've mismanaged your finances but not done it deliberately to lose money or rip somebody off, the legislation's there to support you, to allow you to start again.
Right, so I seen on your website it always says like restructuring. Is that a fancy word for we're just going to sack off a director and put a new one in place?
No, it doesn't work like
should
that.
I not be asking that?
No, it's definitely not sacking the director. A lot of times that's the problem. Obviously, as a director, is he changing? But the restructure's normally around the financial restructure. It's not about the management. It can be. But normally a lot of the guys I'm dealing with are owner-managed business, so like yourself, you're on your own, James. I know you've got support in the team, but at the end of the day, you're the guy that carries the can, so that's who I tend to work with. So I'm not going to sack that guy, because that means I get sacked.
It's a huge relief for some people, innit? If they go through it, it's a worry of liquidating your company, but after they do it, it's like they restart again, and a lot of people, they say it's the best thing that maybe happened to them. They've been stressed for so many years, and it's starting again.
Best
really.
thing I done, I started afresh at basically the end of last year. I started afresh, and it was like a breath of fresh air, because it was like just resetting, just taking that right. Let's take what we learned. I mean, there was some bad. There wasn't a lot, but there was a lot of good there as well.
Absolutely.
So it's like we just followed on with the good, and then just added to it, and then so we're now at a stage where it's like we're no in trouble, but could somebody like myself come to you and go, look, this is the stage I'm at, it's a crossroads, I'm either going to try and grow it and get advice on where to take it next.
And yes is a simple answer to that, Alec, because not all of my business is somebody that's going to face liquidation and administration.
The Grim Reaper.
That's what I used to be like. Now I'm seeing businesses. Now I see business, a paramedic, I call myself a paramedic, because again, and you can sort it, it's not quite at death's door. But in all seriousness, I deal with a lot of good businesses as well, business owners, just for the reason you're saying is that, right, I've taken this business as far as I can, or I think I can. What can I do to further develop myself and further develop the business?
Because we're at a stage now, and it's like things are going well for us. I mean, better than expected, but it's like we're scared of the next step. So it's like, I don't want to take it. I don't want to go down the wrong road. I don't want to go, right, I'm going to do what I've done before, like bring on another 3 installers, put another 3 vans on the road, and then give myself added stress, or do I just kind of sit where I'm at?
Don't be frightened of it. Like what I would say, obviously not just to you, but to anybody it's get their business and they're at that crossroads, is surround yourself with good advisors. Now, I don't mean just me. There's plenty of good advisors out there. There's good accountants, there's good lawyers, there's a number of good business people out there. Don't be frightened to ask for a wee bit of guidance from, maybe not a direct competitor, but how you two are working together, sharing. There's a number of support networks, if you like, out there as well for the entrepreneur. Just to give you a bit of comfort that what you're feeling is just the same as other guys are. It's that pressure, but sometimes it's a good pressure. You know, there's a good stress and there's a good pressure. Carrying a lot of debt, carrying the responsibility of putting, the words I use is food on your employees' table, you know, for their family. That's a big pressure.
Oh, it's a massive. I feel it's like you're responsible for, I've said it all the time, I'm responsible for multiple households, not even my own.
Absolutely. And it's that emotional stress. And I find that when there's a couple of businesses I'm dealing with just now, and there's a real emotional attachment because you want to make it work. A couple of tough gigs that I'm working on at the moment, but with an accountant that you know very well, James, and we're slowly turning the oil tanker around. It's no easy, but it's not just seen as, oh, it's a business and it's numbers. You get emotionally attached in the business and the employees, the same way as you do with your employees and their family.
Aye, sometimes you need somebody to come in and say, if somebody needs to get sacked off, they need to get sacked off. It's like this, it's black and white. It's like, if that bit of the business isn't making money, then you need to just move on with it rather.
Well, if you can't adapt it, you know.
I used to find myself, I just get dead emotionally attached to things in the business, and it'd be like, even though it wasn't working, and it would be something you'd try money wise, it's like, no, we can do it.
That's how it's good to get somebody like yourself in to tell you straight.
What I normally do is, particularly if I'm sitting with directors and they're admitting to some challenges, but we're sitting in a room you can look out and it's peeing with rain. They see blue sky. You guys are entrepreneurs. That's why I love entrepreneurs, because they're optimistic. They go for it, but they need a bit of support. And hopefully, guys like yourself will know when to come for support, or anybody that's out there. Please don't do it on your own. There's plenty of things out there that can help you, you know. So it's all there for you.
Aye, good.
After 40, so you only got your own business after 43 years. So what made you wait 43 years before starting? Because a lot of people would be put off starting a business.
I know you should be looking at retirement, not starting a business.
No, but a lot of people are scared. They say it's too late, or I'm too old to start a business. But
I think a few things. One, I always wanted, but I never had the balls to do it, if I'm being honest.
Yep.
I got to a stage in my life where I can afford to do it. You know, my kids are up and my wife's working, and I thought through COVID I was dead quiet. But like yourself, mine wasn't, I couldn't get into businesses, it's just nobody needed me. Because
guys like myself were sitting making the downtime the best of it, sitting playing the PlayStation for 8 hours a day.
There you are. So business owners were getting their bounce back loan C-bills, nobody was taking any action against them. So I was quiet, and I like getting out and meeting people. So it was during COVID that I thought, I know what's coming. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to need a lot of help, but not when they're ready to go bust, a lot earlier in the journey. And I've got a big network of like accountants and lawyers and funders, and they have brought me in to speak to their clients to try and avoid an insolvency, or indeed use insolvency to shape the business. Not, I can't pay the wages tomorrow, we need to go under. This is about planning. This is about giving businesses proper time to restructure, back to that word again, to save employment. That's a key driver here, is to save employment, keep jobs, even dare I say, keep income coming into the government, you know, because the more employees that are paying their tax, the better it is. So that made me think about what I want to do in my last couple of years before I retire. But
the year's busier than you've ever been.
Never been as busy in my life.
One of the things for me is, it's like, sometimes you know that there's people like you out there, but you're already that financially drained that you feel like you can't afford it, or even like you're at a stage where you want to go and get advice. Is there anything to say, like, well, money wise, like obviously getting you in, it's like, if I've got no money to pay the wages, how do I pay you to come in?
I don't get paid. Because if I'm in that situation, and it's not just me that I've left another business advisor this morning, we'll invest a bit of our time. And again, it goes back to that thing. I'm at a certain stage in my life that, you know, I'm not chasing every penny, not chasing every invoice. If I'm working and I can justify it, and if we've turned businesses around, I'll get paid if the business can afford it. But there's a lot of businesses where we can just give a wee bit of advice and say, try that, Alec, try that and try that. And if it works, brilliant. The biggest success for me is if I don't ever see you again, because it means that whatever you've had to do, you've done it and it's worked.
Right.
But if I go in and other people go into your business, it's not about there's an invoice and I'm not working with you until you can
We'll
pay.
see for an hour, there's a £400 invoice.
I brought you in here to help me because I'm in financial.
Aye.
I'm stressed at my box with
Yeah.
finances.
Yeah.
You've come in, looked at it, and done, oh, you're fucked here. They're an invoice.
Aye.
That's
You're
quite good,
you're
because
even
not a lot
more
of people
done.
do. But you're saying a lot of people would.
I want to invest, but I don't want to sound like this philanthropic, hero that's out there rescuing businesses and business owners. I'm running a business, of course I'm running a business, but if people are struggling to pay, I'm happy to give them a wee bit of my time and a wee bit of my experience. And that's really what it's not about me being in your business 7 hours a day. I can save somebody's business with one phone call. And I've done
Because
that.
of your network as well, innit? You've got a
I've
huge
done
network.
that, phone
haven't
up, whether it's a debt recovery or a lawyer, whatever, and phone up and say, look, I'm in speaking to this business. Can you buy me a wee bit of time at the moment? And that's been enough to help the business.
Sometimes that's what you need.
steady
Somebody
down.
that's just got a wee
So how do you put a
sometimes
price
it's
in
got
that?
a calm head.
Exactly.
Like somebody like yourself to go, look, I've just been speaking to this guy, he's stressed out.
Yeah,
Just to give you that help, because sometimes it's like you get anxiety about even picking up the phone and asking.
totally.
So if you have got somebody with that wee bit of calm head that's well spoken, that can go in and do that for you, just help you out, then that's that
Actually,
is-
I know this is for the scheme to whatever you're calling it, but ask
Whatever you're calling it.
that the boss. I
a
don't
good
like
promo,
I don't like that
I'm
bit the
going to
boss.
cut that. Excuse me, whatever you're calling
I
it.
don't like that boss thing because we're all in it together. But one of my first employments was with the council, and I was based at Barrowfield. I'm pointing that way because I know Barrowfield's just up the road there. That folk watching this will have no clue where it is, but from where we are. So it was in doing debt counselling. It was individuals that had run up too much debt, illegal money lenders, which is a big problem in East End of Glasgow, not just East End of Glasgow, but where I was operating. And these store cards where people would run up credit card bills, and people couldn't feed their family because they had to pay either the illegal money lender or money lenders who were charging a lot of money. So I've always been in the game of helping people. So it's something that it runs through, whether it's an individual or whether it's through a corporate. At the end of the day, they're human beings here. And if I can help 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people through the journey, that's more than money at times.
Like money is a massive stressor. I remember myself, it's like we were spending something like 15 grand a month on wages. And see, for the last week every month, it didn't, even if the money was in the bank, it's like I was stressed out every month.
And people don't appreciate that. And for all the other entrepreneurs that are out there, the stresses that you've got, they might see, I don't know whether you drive a half decent car, or they might think, oh, they're away on holiday. But I think a lot of people, particularly employees, forget that the boss or the bosses collectively have got a lot of stress. It's not always sweetness and light, as I'm sure you know as well, James.
Aye.
And I think a lot of people out there who have got staff now, it's like you need to just cut off for that. It's like these people are there to make the company money. It's like I used to make a mistake. I wanted to be everybody's pal. It's to the point where people would come in and ask you for an advance on their wages, and you're sitting going, I'm not even taking a wage this month, and I'm going to give you an advance, and you were giving them it.
I see it so many times. I've seen it so many times over many, many years. It's classic. What you do is classic, and it'll change. But if I can help people understand the emotional side of the business as well, that's key. Because if your emotions are okay, then it's easier to deal with the challenges. But if you're all over the place, and then you're seeing, and then the problem seems a lot bigger than it actually is. So it's bringing everything back to basics, giving people a wee bit of breathing space, which is a common phrase at the moment, and just a clear head, hopefully.
How many years do you think you've got left in running your own business before you go, no, what? I'm done, man. I'm going to play golf in Alicante.
If my wife watches this, or she was listening just now, she'd be going, that was about 2 months ago, you should have chucked it, because going back to it, never been as busy. And it's challenging. It's very much like we're just talking about there, the emotional side of it. I hope I'm continuing to do this for a long time, but maybe not as flat out as I'm doing it at the moment.
Do you think it is maybe a labour of love for you, but as well?
It is. That is.
Because you enjoy helping people as well, innit? It's not just about the money, it's about the enjoyment of helping people.
I've not, again, the chat I was having with somebody there, I've not got to the stage where I've said to somebody, no, I'm too busy.
Yeah.
I can't do it. There'll come a time where I'll need to do that. And the reason I was meeting this guy today, I need to build up a network of people the same as me, so that if I am too busy, at least I've got somebody to pass them on, somebody I can trust. It's back to that trust.
You wouldn't work with an employees route, you're happy just working yourself, doing your own thing. You wouldn't want to employ anybody to work alongside
I could, but it's probably getting back to your point there. I waited 43 years because I've got a lot of experience now. I've got a big network. I was lucky enough, that was my job really, was build up a network so that you can bring in people, whether it's QSs, accountants, whoever that businesses need. I can't fix everything, but what I can do is give you a good ear to start with and say, right, where are your problems? Right, you need to go and speak to this guy, or look, I can go and speak to them for you, or I'll go and do this for you. So it's all about using the network. I don't know whether I would take on an employee. I might bring in somebody as a partner, somebody that's, again, semi-retired and wants to.
I'm always looking for something today, so if you need a horn, I'm your man.
Again, you've gone through it, and that's vital. You know, I'm dealing with a couple of guys just now that say, I'd love to do what you're doing. Well, you could do it, but you're probably making more money.
That's me. Last week I was a hypnotist, this week I'm going to go down price.
I had a hypnotist last week. I don't know if you've seen any clips or anything, but he hypnotised me here and I couldn't get my horn off my head.
Really?
Or something like that. But I was a laugh.
Get him to phone HMRC, he doesn't owe you money.
But so you weren't always in this game, so
there might be people watching this that'll go, I know his face.
I recognise him. So what else is it you used to do, Stuart?
Well, people would say, well, you say you like helping people, but why did you become a football referee? And I put it down to fairness. Genuinely, I played a lot of football when I was a wee boy. But again, it's maybe a generational thing. And I was thinking about this before I came in here, that I spent my childhood kicking a ball, kicking a bit of charcoal, kicking papers that were rolled up, made it like a football. Kids you mentioned earlier, they were playing your PlayStations, and there's a lot for kids, and that's brilliant. You know, you want people to advance in how you develop, but mine was playing at football all the time. Played junior football, amateur football, junior football. Didn't like referees. I was the last guy. Should have been a football referee.
You get it thinking that you need to have a calm head.
Well, you get it, but you understand it. It's whether I jump into a taxi, and the taxi driver go, oh no, I don't know how you would do that. I said, I don't know how you're a taxi driver. You know, Friday night, early Saturday morning, folk absolutely pissed out their nut, and you're having to listen to them and take them home. Everybody's got a skill set. You know what you do. You're into somebody's home and you're dealing with a large part of their home, which is their kitchen. You're going in and cleaning it top to bottom, making sure that they're happy with that. We've all just got a skill set. I don't know how I found out. Mine was refereeing, but thoroughly enjoyed it.
Just to touch on it, you were actually a big referee, like
two Scottish Cup finals.
I tell you, 2 Scottish Cup finals, 100 international appointments, 38 countries, 2 Inter-Total Cup finals, Super Cup final with Madrid and Feyenoord. So you got a bit. So
you weren't at a wedding this weekend. You did your research.
I did my research.
I thought you were just an amateur football player.
No, but you weren't just a referee at a juniors. You travelled to
I was lucky
38
enough,
countries.
A FIFA referee, international referee. Yep. So lucky enough to travel the world. Somebody else paying for it, which is even better. Normally travelling business class as well. And the reason I say that is that we go back to the scheme. Humane's Wishy Boy brought up kicking a ball. Never dreamed I would be in the middle of the Champions League game. I'm a big Barcelona fan. Going there next weekend actually to see them bringing in the trophy. Managed to referee a game at the Nou Camp. For a wee boy from Humane's and what a dream. But not just that.
It must be a surreal feeling walking out there.
Unbelievable. Old Firm games. I think I did 12, 13 Old Firm games in the middle.
You got a fine man, didn't you? What did you call Nerlinger? You said something to him, didn't you?
Him and I had a wee misunderstanding of language. He was from Germany and I was trying my best German, but
what German word was it you used?
Fünf, I think it was. Or it sounded like fünf.
Fuck off.
But, something like that. Yeah. Could have been that. And again, that was just
you must get banter with the players and all, but obviously
great banter.
Good banter with them, know what I mean?
Great banter, and it was funny when I was getting through refereeing and the criticism of referees is now, can I talk to referees? It was the same when I was going through, because the generation before me were much more open, but you find a way.
You must need to be so calm, like have a calm head, because see the way some of the players come up running up and shouting at you, I don't know, I don't think I could do it.
You would develop. That's why you go through you start at youth, and then you get into the kind of amateur football and junior football, and that's a tough.
That's worse,
testing
isn't it?
What age
ground.
did you start at it, Stuart? So was it, if you were playing football?
The reason I got into it, believe it or not, I slipped at work on ice and I broke my back. And it sounds all dramatic, but I just basically couldn't get back to playing football again. But I would never have made it at football anyway. I loved it. Would never have made it into the senior level. In fact, here's a wee story for the youngsters that are watching nowadays, where everything's all woke and PC, and fathers, particularly with their sons and daughters that are at the football. I know mothers are there as well. I was playing one game with the school, scored 4 goals against the league leaders, and back in the day, your dad never went to the football to watch you, and if he did, he was hiding around the corner because it just wasn't a done thing. Whereas now, all fathers and mothers are going to see
You know, being
kids
abused.
correct. So I get home, and dad old school, and I get home at lunchtime. My dad's sitting at the lunch table having his lunch, and my mum, the dutiful wife, is cooking lunch. And I walked in. She went, "How'd you go today, son?" I said, "Aye, good, mum." I said, "We won 4-0, and did you play well, son?" I said, "I think so. I scored the 4 goals." So, and without missing a beat, my dad never, his knife and fork still going like, you said, "You'll never make it. You're too stiff." And he was right, you know. But imagine that nowadays. I go on
you can't
Oprah
say it
Winfrey, I
nowadays,
go on
can you?
every programme, counsellors and everything coming out of my ears. Now, I'm not saying that there's no need for that, but that's how it was back then.
I'm on this telling people all the time, teachers shouldn't be writing you off like that, and your own dad's done it to you.
Oh, right away.
But it's no.
But you know what? He was 100% right.
But you
So I
didn't-
didn't have
you-
a focus to try to be a football player for the rest of my life.
But you didn't let it stop you. You found your other avenue.
Well, that's another thing. You get a wee bit of resilience. You hear that word, you know. I don't want to be critical of where the world is at the moment, but you know what? Some hard lessons aren't bad. You said earlier about your business. You've learned a lot from the not so nice things that have happened in your business. That's how you learn.
You learn, you don't fail,
Whether
you
you like
learn,
it or
innit?
not. As long as you're not being abused or mistreated. But it's okay to fail. It's okay not to be first or second or even third in competitions. You know, went with my daughters to their cheerleading and their dancing, and there was 8 groups or 8 troops in it. They were all getting a trophy. And on one hand, that's nice, but what are we teaching kids about a bit of resilience? It's okay if you don't win. Just try harder,
try harder
the next time. Or maybe
And
not
if you
try
want to
harder.
win, be better.
Just do something different. It might not be trying harder. It might just be try something different.
How did you end up going for that to being like, I'm going to be a ref?
Well, as I say, I had that accident and I wasn't really getting back into the football. And my dad's pal had been a top class referee in the 60s, a guy, Joseph Kelly from Wishel. And he said to me, "Go to the refereeing classes. Honestly, you'll," because he knew I just loved the game. And I turned up at the refereeing classes as a wee guy who knew everything about football. I knew every stadium.
So you were still young then? You weren't there like
Well, no, I
30s
was
or anything?
19, 20. But when I was, a teenager, I had the shoot annuals and all that. I knew every club, south of the border, north of the border. I knew the names of their stadiums, knew other players. I was just
Obsessed.
I loved
You're
it.
a football
Loved it.
fan as a whole, rather
Absolute
than just
proper football
like,
fan.
with me, I don't really like football, right? But I support Rangers.
Right.
It's like, so see, when it comes to football, I only watch Rangers,
Right.
and it's like to a fault. It's like it'll affect my whole mood and everything. But see, other than that, see any other game going on in the world, it's like it's just no interest
Well, I'm
to me.
the absolute opposite. I'm a
you'd
fan. I
watch
watch
any
German
game.
football,
Right.
Italian football, Spanish football. As I've touched on it about the Barcelona there. So I went to the refereeing classes with a view of maybe coaching. I'd done a bit of coaching at my primary school back in the day, and I thought maybe this. And I was getting taught about the laws, about the ball, the shape, circumference, all that weight of the ball, the pitch, the size of the pitch. I'm going, I didn't know any of this. And then you get into the
Started
laws,
getting interested.
and then the fouls and misconduct and direct free kick, indirect free kick.
I bet you're glad you're retired now.
But not at all. Not
I'd
at
like
all.
to ask you actually about VAR. Do you wish VAR was there back in the day, or do you think? What do you think of VAR?
Everybody's an expert now because of it.
Well, I'm going to plug my other programme, The Verdict, on BBC Online, BBC
Right. Good.
Football, because that is about trying to, I'll not use the word educate, but inform people. And it's based around the laws of the game. So to answer your question, James, I'll ask you a question. Would you like something at your work that if you've made a mistake or a possible mistake, you can almost rewind it and go, have a wee look at that again, James, or would you do that again? The answer's going to be yes.
Yeah.
Aye, but I wouldn't want the full country telling me that I got it wrong again, even after I've rewatched
Well,
it.
sometimes they're still getting it wrong, so well, that's only us hanging out because we don't know every rule in the book. I
Absolutely.
suppose.
And if referees are continually being referred to the VAR monitor, they'll not be refereeing. But it's the same whether you've got VAR or no. If you keep making mistakes, you'll not be a referee.
But some referees think they're holding back their decisions, just waiting for the VAR guys to say, look, if the ref thinks it's a penalty, they don't see anything until they get the decision.
No, the reason being is, and again we touched on that in the verdict, is that you'll still be judged about the mistake you make, but football will not suffer for your mistake, so you'll get a chance to look at it again. And I think, without going down the football road too much, I think what people forget, first of all, with VAR, you've got people who've come right through the ranks, so they know the laws of the game. More importantly, they know the interpretation of the law. So if you've got me as the VAR and you, Alec, as the referee and an experienced referee, and you make a decision and I look at it and I go, for these angles I can see that you can't see, I don't think you've called this correctly, and it's a major decision. It's either a goal or a penalty or a red card. So now we've got the benefit to be able to say, go and have a wee look at that again, Alec, and see what you think. And here's a better view. So you go and you look at it, and 9 times out of 10, the referees will go and look at it and go, you're right, I got that wrong. And that's not because the referee has been bad, it's just we're seeing different angles.
It's hard to get every decision right.
Exactly. Now people are saying, we know what's going to happen, he's going to the monitor, he's going to turn it around. Well, the reason that 9 times out of 10 it's turned around is that the experienced referee behind the screens, being the VAR, video assistant referee, looking at it, can see a mistake, but can say to you, Alec, can stick with your decision, or do you want to change it? And more often than not, the reason you're asked to go and have a look at it again is because because the based on where you were and based on what you could see, it was wrong. There was one in Sunday's game, the Heart Celtic, where the referee was pilloried for going to the screen. VAR was pilloried for going to getting the referee across to look at something which was, by the laws of the game, a red card all day long. Now, it's not just you take it into the context of a Hearts Celtic game. That could be the World Cup final. The laws have got to be applied the same, whether it's down the amateur parks or whether it's at the Scottish game, Champions League or World Cup. So we can't just say, that's harsh in Hearts. They're up against Celtic. Celtic are, putting a bit more pressure on it. It's a red card that it's not a red card.
I think the ones that's moaning, Stuart, the ones that probably don't know like us. I probably moan a lot saying VAR's a lot of shite.
I think it's
the ones that don't understand every rule in the book.
Once you understand it, and I've put it in a text to somebody today, it's actually not that difficult. There's only 17 laws, and actually half of them are all technical about the size of the ball, the size of the pitch, the number of players, etc. So when you actually get into fouls and misconduct and reading about yellow cards and red cards, once you understand that and a wee bit of the interpretation, it's actually quite easy, the laws of the game.
Well, I don't know, I seen Alan Shearer on the telly the other day getting a ref, it's thinking, and it's like, was it a handball or was it not a handball? And it's, I think
there's a lot of inconsistency, they know.
Well, that's the reason that we're getting a lot of penalties, particularly in Scotland, where they've basically said any handball out with the shape of your body above your head or even out here, it's not to try and catch players out, it's not to try and create more goals, it's to get greater consistency. Because if I give it for the ball hitting somebody's hand there and you don't, there's inconsistency in refereeing. So there was 2 red cards for denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity on the verdict that we looked at. And the key thing for me was we had consistency because the laws of the game were properly applied. Not just, you think that's harsh and you think that's no harsh.
Because Alan Shearer's thing, there was a lot of emotion brought into it because it was his team.
Well, there you are.
It's like as soon as you bring emotion into it, then obviously you're going to see people you're going to see your side of it, and that's it.
So talking about business, that's the reason you come in as a third party of business, because if you've got problems with your business, you're emotional about it. That's why Shearer is with his club.
That's what I do. I try to take the emotion out. You're absolutely right. That's one of my selling points in inverted commas. I'm here to take the emotion out. Let's make decisions based on what needs to be done. Not, can I give this guy in advance and I'll know this weekend? That's no clever. It's no good for them. It's not good for you. So just take the emotion out of it. And it's the same with VAR.
I do, because I do get very emotional about things like that in business, and it's like you feel like you want to help them, and it's like I'm giving them extra and taking out my own pocket, and it's like that's not how business works. Sometimes you do need somebody you can phone up and go, right, by the way, I've just had one of my staff just come in, what do you advise a day? And then you'd be like, well, this is exactly what to do.
And what happens when that member of staff goes, big guy, that's a great guy, ask for a wee advance in the wages? Oh, did
And
you?
all the staff are
Did
all doing
you?
the same thing.
Bang, and then your business will no work, your business will fail.
Well, I was getting
as a
staff
result.
doing that, and I had to nip it in the bud, gain 1 or 2 help, and then before you know it, a lot of other people were asking me, so you nip it in the bud. But when you do that, it comes across, he's a dick, he's a bad guy. Nobody appreciates you being good. They take it, they get used to it.
It's consistency.
And then when you stop something like that, or let them finish early, let you finish early, and when you stop it, you're the bad guy, rather than them being grateful for it.
So do you
at the
advise
time.
on things like that, or is it just, do you basically, I ain't today with business, I could phone you and go, right, this is what's
I
happening.
think you're worth a few quid though. I might have to invoice
I
you
don't
for
know
that.
about that.
But yeah, is that some of the stuff that I do when I get into businesses? Yeah, we sit and talk about the benefits of doing it, but more importantly is the pitfalls of doing it, because it's just talked about it in refereeing there, consistency. The best boss is the consistent boss, because if you do that with favours, that's a
You've got to do everybody.
Exactly. So people want a boss that's consistent.
So with your pricing, you said you're consistent with your pricing.
Oh, you're right. That's
For that
one thing.
simple reason.
We don't have 2 customers that get different pricing. It's like, if you have to get the exact same kitchen, you guarantee it's the exact same price you get off me.
Yep.
If like price per door and everything, it's all, because we don't just make it up as you go along.
The things that, without giving too much business advice, if somebody's looking for a wee bit more money, are they prepared to work a wee bit longer? That's one way of doing it. If the company can afford it, you might say, right, I'll give you another shift. So somebody's actually working for it and earning it. So if somebody else comes and complains about, I need more money, well, yep, for doing another shift.
Do the shift.
Okay, you were doing extra shifts in the refereeing to make extra money then,
Sure was, actually, aye. Sure
Did you get a
was.
lot of stick back? Like many times walking through the street, people are shouting abuse at you in the family and all that.
Nah, I've maybe count in one hand the amount of what you would call, it wasn't even abuse, but verbals that was above and beyond. There was one time at the airport, I'm there with my family going away on holiday, one clown had something to say, and a lot of the times, as you'll know yourself, it's not direct confrontation, it's a throwaway comment from, as you've got the keyboard warriors now, you didn't have them in my day.
We talk about trolls all the time. All of a sudden now you get people who just come on your page and just get stinking. It's like, I don't even know you.
We didn't have that back in the day.
You were getting it in person.
Well, absolutely.
At least you could see who was getting it stinking.
Sometimes they were shouting and you looked round and they weren't there. But no, it's like, I think most people, and you've said it yourself, referees, just what a tough gig. I think just about most fans, even the most passionate of fans, understand in the cold light of day, refereeing's a tough gig and they wouldn't like to do it themselves. The players wouldn't like to do it themselves. How many players can be referees? Very few.
That's mad.
Very few.
You've done it because you love the game, but not a lot of people do that.
And they wouldn't. So you would think if you love it, and I heard one of our most prominent commentators or pundits saying ex-players should be coming in and running VAR. What a lot of nonsense. Because they would just see it through emotion, and they would see it through their team, or they don't understand the laws of the game. Bring them in if they've been referees and they want to go through the system. But I've seen a few go through, or try to go through when I was actively involved, and they would get to maybe the late amateur or junior stage and this isn't for me.
Because that's worse than all. That's people want to come on and punch you.
I don't need this in my life. So they were all right playing the game, but they didn't want to be referees.
See, you're getting a lot of refs. They're saying now that they want refs they want to mic them up so that everybody can hear what they're saying. And it's like, no. It's
I think that's all right in the rugby, but
it works okay in the rugby, and I think what we could do here, well, I don't want mic'd up because you've already said I get caught swearing once. I swore a lot more, but I just get caught at the once. But I think a wee bit more communication. Why are referees making certain decisions now? We're getting it now with VAR, where they don't have a screen. In fact, there was one at Fir Park at the weekend. They don't have the screen there, so the announcer is basically saying the referee is looking for a potential red card, and then we'll be looking at an offside. So the fans then know they're looking at two things. We understand it's taking a wee bit of time. I just think it would be quite good to have a wee bit more communication. Back to that word again, it's key in life, to tell fans what's going on.
That's what they're born about, especially in the Scottish game they're doing it, because they're waiting about a long time. We can see it in the telly and in the house, for instance, but it's taking so long on the park to...
Well, it's funny, I watched a game from Italy last night, 2 nights ago, that much football, and the guy was saying, the commentator was an English commentator, and he's saying, if we think it's bad in England, look how bad it is here in Italy. And that's what I said in that Vardic programme at the weekend. If we think it's bad in Scotland, look what's happening in England, and look in Italy and Spain. There's a lot more money in these countries. You've got to get it right.
And if these guys down there they're full time, aren't they? It's like that's their career. Up here, it's like so you're juggling your actual career, with doing essentially part time.
It just and it didn't make. They still make the same mistakes.
We can't, but surely you can't expect somebody that works part time to be as good as somebody who this is their full time job.
Well,
or should you?
It's still your job, but it's still your job. You've got to get it right.
Well, I might not have been full time referee, but when I looked at how many hours a week, not just me, but the current referees at the moment, because they're under constant observation when it comes to their physical condition. So they've got all these monitors on now that the players are all wearing. And even when I was there, we had to download all our training sessions to Hampden, and they had their expert there that went through all your training, could see how your fitness was, your sprinting, various things like that. And I'm going back now 15 years. So it's moved on a pace. So they might not be full-time professionals pay-wise, but they're full-time professional focused referees at the top level, for the simple reason as, and you touched on it earlier, you make mistakes in front of people. You don't want to be making as many
human
mistakes.
Error. People are going to, as soon as you've got a human, we're no computers. It's like we're going to make mistakes, and it's like you might look at something and see it the way you see it, and I'll look at the exact same thing and disagree with you.
But referees can look at, when we did our training, we'd sit and you go, right guys, a minute, and somebody go like, nah, it's just a foul, that's not a yellow card. And other guys have gone, just tack on.
I think that's what most of the problem is, because everybody has got their own opinion and we're all arguing with each other.
But as long as it's, and my big thing, as long as it's done based on the laws of the game, because you can't say that's a yellow card when you look at the laws of the game and it says if that happens that's a red card. You can't just say, well, it's a yellow card, because I think that's harsh.
So referees should have the same decision. Watching something happen, they should come up with the same decision every time.
If they've got the right angle. If they've got the right angle. And then you get there are certain situations, certain tackles.
Aye, my opinion on a hard tackle might be different than your opinion on a hard tackle.
You look at the law and you say, you can understand why he didn't give a yellow card there. I think that's a yellow card, but neither's wrong.
Yeah.
It's how you see it.
Do you ever get injured during the game and have to come off?
I believe it or not, you have done your research. I broke my ankle, believe it or not, in a game in Krakow, of all places. Krakow were playing, Wisla Krakow were playing Lazio. Or was it Roma? Can't remember. But the pitch the week before, we'd travelled and it was like -9, snow, ice. There was just absolutely no way we could play the game. So we had to come back the following week, which is another nice wee jolly, out to Poland via London. And they brought in all these heaters, industrial heaters, to soften up the pitch. So that was all right. So when we checked the pitch at midday, pitch was fine, but it was still going to be -9 at night. So you've got to take the heaters off, haven't you? And what happens during the game? It started to freeze up. So I went from a soft bit to a hard bit, back onto a soft bit, and I broke my ankle. And the fourth official had to take over and had a full length cast to
I think
come
it
back
happened at the weekend or 2 weeks ago with Willie Collum. He had to come off.
Right.
And the phone was it beaten. He was in the house watching it on the telly and had to come in.
He said that he was in the house watching it. Was he actually in the house, or was he just like a you on call?
No, because you're not really expecting that you're going to be a knock-on effect, just as long as it wasn't having a couple of beers.
Doesn't happen a lot, does it?
No.
Doesn't he?
No, that's why we've got fourth officials, and it used to be just a shout for the stadium announcer. Yeah. Anybody a qualified referee. and there's a great one.
Papers, like, I'm here to watch the game, but I'll referee it.
There's a great story. Again, you guys are probably too young, but there was a guy, I'll not mention his name, but he'd been in the Celtic supporters bus all the way up to the Celtic game, and it was Blendon United, and Jim McLean was the manager, so it's going back a long time. Long story short, this new linesman who'd come on for the referee to get injured, and the linesman took over for the ref, so he's running the line and he chalked off a good Dundee United equaliser. Jim McLean went absolutely mental, and of course it then came out that the linesman had actually travelled to the game in the Celtic supporters bus, you know. And I'm not saying that's why they brought in fourth officials, but it certainly had some.
Did he become a referee at the end up, that guy?
Became a hero at Celtic Park, I think. I'm not so sure about refereeing
after that.
But you were always shouting about us, man. How did you find, like, so when you were at these games, obviously you've done a lot how did you find the language barrier, or are you fluent in other languages?
Nah, everybody understands a good Scottish scowl and a shout.
You've got to put on that place, haven't you?
A lot of his body language, you know, and to be fair, most of the players in Europe understood English. They might not have all been au fait, and I picked up wee bits of language, you know. So if you're going to Spain, you would use just malo or you know, whatever it would be, and then France, you would pick up a wee bit here and there. But in the main, you would just shout, stare, point, cards and things like that, because if you start a wee bit of conversation, they start back, and then you're gobbled, don't you?
How did you find your first big game? Like, because we always talk about like getting nerves and going into meetings and stuff like that. You must have had the ultimate nerves walking out there in front of 50,000, 60,000 fans.
Aye, and there's no question that the nerves played a big part. And I actually went the other way. It's when you would come back from maybe a Champions League game, and your next game was a First Division match. So you would have maybe about, of a 6-week ballot, you'd have 4 Premier League games, you'd have a First Division match, and then you would be off, or you'd be a 4th official. So because some folk are saying, the ref's been dropped this week, oh look, he's done it Airdrie this week, but it was done that to take you out of the firing line every week. And it was actually trying to make yourself nervous for these games, because you've come from these big games and you've got to give the same respect to whether it's Airdrie, Alloa, whatever game you were doing.
I'd rather just swanning about.
Correct. So I would actually make myself think about, you're still getting supervised, and I would just say, well, look, if you make this mistake out here, it's every bit as important to the players that are playing. Because
they talk about players, it's like getting them up for the rainy days, like Alloa away, or like Ross County away, getting them up for it. It's like refs must get that as well.
If you turn off as a referee and a certain, you think, I've been here, done it, or even in a big game,
bad decision changes
89 minutes, you've come through an Old Firm game and it's great, and then all of a sudden there's a flare up and you've just lost a bit of concentration. And I used to, particularly in the European games, when obviously travelled abroad with the same refereeing team, and we changed it every game, but you know, it was 4 guys from Scotland in the main, and we were all mic'd up, and I would make a point about 10 minutes to go, say, right guys, it's going well, focus, this is the toughest and this is the most important time of the game. Last 80 minutes have gone, it's the next 10 minutes, so it is important that there is a bit of nerve, a bit of stress there, just making sure you're on your
concentration.
Absolutely vital.
Because there's a lot of stuff like that you don't think about it. It's like we don't even see refs as
humans.
It's been a fight. It's like you don't see it as like these guys need to be fit, they need to do the training. It's like the game's getting faster as well. So all of a sudden now you need to be getting up and down that pitch just as quick as some of these players. I mean, you've got guys that are coming for right back and they're just firing right up the park. You need to keep up with them. It's that hard.
Absolutely. And I think the big thing that people forget about referees is that they've got families. It's all right, referees, we go there, nobody forced us to do it, so we go in there and we take the snash that goes with it. But you know, whether it's some of the headlines or worse, what the referees are getting now, you mentioned
some of
trolls,
you get the windy smashed and stuff like that.
Exactly. So I just think that's the worrying aspect, is if the fans take it too far. But the fans, a lot of the time, get their passion ignited by managers, players, former players. And I do think there just needs to be a wee step back to see
managers at the end of the game, and they start bringing referees into it.
Absolutely.
What's happened, just leave it at that, and maybe a quiet discussion with the ref after the game.
Particularly, there's a great responsibility in Old Firm managers, whether they like it or not. They appreciate that. You know, no disrespect to whether it's Kilmarnock or you know, Ross County. If their manager comes out and says something, the impact is not going to be as great as if it's a Rangers manager or a Celtic manager.
Because the media is all that.
Correct, especially if it's something really negative, because that then fuels the ire of their fans base.
The press are baiting them into saying something about the refs as well. It's like they want that because it's clickbait. They want to.
Obviously, I'm not going to talk about the refs, then they go and talk about the refs after the game.
And the journalists know how to bring that out of them as well.
They want Postecoglou sitting up there shouting about a ref. They want Beale doing that. They don't want them, because they know they put that in the papers, it's going to sell.
It's fine if it could be contained, and it can't be contained. So there needs to be an element of discipline. You talked about earlier about a cool head. We all need to have a cool head in the game. You know, go to there, sing away, shout at referees, but when the job's done, job's done.
So your opinion, VAR, it is a good thing for football?
Great thing for the game, because it helps correct things. Many times I
for the game, but no the ref, but for the game in general.
The game in general and the refereeing team. My last game, and it should have been my second last game, but I chucked it after it. I wrongly sent off Charlie Mulgrew, playing for Aberdeen against Rangers, with Kyle Lafferty feigned injury, and nothing would have convinced me, my assistant referee or anybody, that I get that wrong, because what I'd seen, or what I thought I'd seen, was a clear movement of the head.
Aye, so the players, so that player's full due.
It was actually Charlie Mulgrew that moved. He didn't move any headbutt or that, but he just moved forward. And the picture that I got was he's just not.
You seen it as well, but when you watched it back, it wasn't the case.
So if I had VAR then, Charlie Mulgrew wouldn't have been sent off, and I would have corrected a wrong at the time. So it wouldn't have been 10 against 11.
But when did you realise? Like, how soon did you realise that you'd got that wrong? Were you still in the stadium, or were you away?
No, I was in the dressing room, and after the game, we go down out for a cool down. We jog around the stadium, kind of unwind as well, and get back in. And the fourth official said to me, he says, two things. What? He says, Charlie Mulgrew wants a word with you. So they were allowed 15 minutes after the game. They were allowed to come in as long as everyone was calm. He says, and then Walter Smith wants a word as well. I'm like, okay, and you know, like saying you, all the managers, whether it's Rangers, Celtic, whoever, that's fine. So bring in Charlie first. So Charlie saying, Stuart, never touched him. I didn't actually. Well, I'll look at it again because you had to review it anyway for the SFA. I says, if I've got it wrong, Charlie, I'm sorry, but I know it doesn't bring anything back, whereas VAR can. Yep. That's the big thing. Getting back to that point. So Charlie leaves, and a really nice guy, and then comes Walter again, a real gentleman, but geez, he was fired up.
I can imagine.
And I'd also sent off Bagheera, the Rangers player, about 10 minutes later. You know, there's an old adage that says,
that was why your last game?
If you can't handle 22, get it down to a number you can handle. So about 20 was about mine. Anyway, Bagheera had been sent off, and the next week was the last week of the season, and Rangers were going for the title over Celtic. And Walter Smith came in, and I went, is it about... No, he was a wee bit anxious, and I went, well, you're okay to come in here. I said, but, you know, it needs to be calm. He said, aye. I says, is it about Lafferty? And I'll not tell you what he said, but it was pretty obvious I had made a mistake. It was pretty obvious I'd made a mistake. He says, no, I want to talk about Bagheera, you know, about, will you review that, blah, blah, blah. So it was at the stadium where I knew, when I was leaving the stadium, that I knew I'd made a mistake, but I wouldn't want that. I want to sort it out there and then, and that's why VAR is brilliant, because it's given referees a chance to sort and right or wrong, and we don't get many chances like that in life. So for those that don't like VAR and are watching this, just open your mind a wee bit to it and understand why it's there, what they're trying to achieve. You might not like the outcome sometimes, the wee handballs. I
think that's the issue, because there seems to be a lot of inconsistency with VAR, and that's why people are put off by it.
See, I think there's great consistency.
What's the programme that you do? The Verdict?
It's called the Verdict.
Where do you find that?
It's in BBC Scotland Football online. It's normally released on a Monday morning. We record it on a Sunday. You know, a lot of people have, you know, come out to me and said, look, really find that interesting, because it's just like I did when I learned the laws of the game. For punters, for players, we think, we know it, and it's the same with VAR. When you go, right, it's the law. A lot of people don't like denying an obvious goal scoring opportunity. It's not VAR get it right or wrong, or referee get it right or wrong. Sometimes it's a law they don't like. So no, I would welcome your views on it.
Aye, good.
Everybody loves a debate, but as well, innit? So it doesn't matter whether you got it right or wrong. It's like people are going to debate it, and the media are just going to keep pushing that. And there are a lot of clickbait.
But there are a lot of decisions that are up for subjectivity. Is a word that I use a lot in the programme. It's subjective. You look at it and you think, I don't think it's a yellow. You look at it and think, aye, and you might think, and I might think. So that's good for debate, but don't go, as a lot of people are doing, unfortunately, telling referees they got it wrong. A horrendous decision. In fact, they've actually got it right.
Aye.
That's no clever. But anyway, certain people don't want to move with the times.
So what is the plan, Topic Times? What is the plan for the future?
More of the same. More of the same. Just helping businesses for however long, I don't know. I would rather my services weren't in demand, because that would mean that we're through the worst and the economy's doing fine. But as I said earlier, I'm helping a lot of nice businesses,
there might be people
businesses
like myself that's in a good position, that's just looking for advice to grow.
Absolutely.
How did they find you, Stuart, then? How will people find you?
I'm not sure I want them to find me. They'll find me. If somebody wants to find me, they'll find me online. People can use it. My business is called Onside Advisory, because people want to be kept on side, and I'm trying to keep business owners on side with their key stakeholders, HMRC, banks, etc., funders. So that's why I named it. And obviously there was a play in the football name as well. You know, I really don't want too many people batting down my doors, but I'm happy to provide a bit of support or point people in the right direction for support.
Your wife's got to watch this. She's got to what's he doing?
He's doing podcasts.
I'll know. You tell me how long it goes out to about 24.
We're over 100 subscribers now. So if you're watching this and you've no subscribed yet, subscribe below. Well, I think that's probably a good point for us to finish up. So I've been Alex the Kitchen Rapper, and that's a wrap.
That's us, Stuart, mate. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Mate, it's been really good talking to you, man.
Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.